stuff. So I've known them for a long time. But he and my dad have been in business since
And then you can go ahead and start it.
since about 89 or 90. That's when my dad and Steve took over the business.
Do you need anything else from me, Ed, on that?
No, once I know I have audio, then we'll just pause it. We won't stop it, but we'll pause it.
I'm gonna go ahead and do roll call then,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was over there, we went to the show a couple weeks ago, and as we were driving by, it dawned on me, I wonder how his dad, how he's doing, you know, just the economy, how bad it's getting.
You know,
We have
I guess
it
let's go
on.
with cabin, right?
Well, I can find out. Put it on as a placeholder.
I slipped out, it's not that I'm
It's Joy. Other, I told her.
Put a clock on my wall. I'm looking up there. This was 6 minutes till.
Well,
And I'm left
we all
on
need to
I'm looking
synchronize.
up, looking up, going, oh, yeah.
I actually synchronized my watch with that clock. And you saw my note. You need to pull that one consent item on the first one.
Yeah, it's number, where is it? 10. And I already told Steve. Oh, I'm sorry. What did I hit? I'm sorry. Whoa. Someone else uses this chair and it's like 6 inches lower.
Mr. Hader back there said meetings to you.
No, I know, but a little bit. Anything that we
Oh,
can do is
I'm
good.
blocking you guys out.
Yeah, and it shows outreach and effort on our part. Excuse me.
Are you sure where she lived?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's in my district. Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to the March 31st Board of Supervisors meeting. I apologize for being a minute or two late. The clock in my office is about 6 minutes slower than this one up here. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. like to recognize that Supervisor Ashita is not here this morning. He is in Washington, D.C., testifying before the House Committee on Natural Resources in regards to the California drought. So we wish him well, and we wish all of California well as the nation's leaders are considering issues that are very important and near and dear to our hearts as a farming county and to the whole state. We have I think, an exciting agenda today. The first item on our agenda is to recognize a long-term employee of Tulare County, Cheryl Cheek, and I know we have also Peg Yates here who would like to say a few words. And while you and Cheryl make your way up, if you would, while you're making your way up, I'm reading through the resume, and I see that Cheryl, you've probably held just about every position, it looks like, in HHSA over the last few years that can be held. Your start date was in September 11th of 1972 as an eligibility worker 1. You've held many positions since that time. It looks like in 1999 you made the move to the IT department, and I know they feel bad for losing you, and you ended up as a IT business analyst, retiring this year. You've been nominated several times as the Employee of the Month, and congratulations. And it says here that you've always been willing to share your knowledge and train others, and that's so important when you have so many folks coming into a position. And I hope you've done a good job of training the people that will come in and fill your shoes. Also, you've been recognized throughout the 18-county consortium as a medical expert. Your hobbies include reading and taking care of your beloved cats. And I like this one, proving that life does not end with retirement. Cheryl plans on going to school and learning how to translate books into Braille. What a wonderful, commendable effort. And I will turn a few moments over to Peg.
Thank you. Peg Yates, Tulare County IT Department. Cheryl, the IT department was formed a little over a year ago, and Cheryl joined the IT department then. She was in MIS before that. I've only had a short time to work with Cheryl, but I have learned that she receives the announcement of any changes that are going to happen for payouts. She interprets those into something that we can understand in IT. She's applied those to formulas that are then used to verify that the appropriate amounts are being paid out. Her knowledge is going to be missed. Her hobbies also include quilting, which she is quite talented at. I've seen some of them displayed, and in fact, some of them I believe have been at the county fair. She's been a great person to work with, always willing to step up and do what needs to be done, and we are truly going to miss her. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
These are kind of the times when we do miss Mr. Maples, because he always likes to say that the county seal, being awarded the county seal, is the highest honor that can be imposed upon an employee. And I would love to present you, Cheryl, with our county seal. You come around here, we want to memorialize this with a picture as well. And this is the first time that you've done something special, because there is this awesome velvet cover that comes with it, and I've never seen this awesome velvet cover before. This stuff in a plastic bag, so you must have done something special. So congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
We'd love to have you say something if you'd like to.
No, I don't think so.
Thank you very much for your many years of service.
Thank you.
Well, the fun just keeps going on. We'd like to invite Dal. Are you doing our presentation? Captain Dal Cleek with the Sheriff's Department to make a presentation to the board on our Explorers program.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Captain Dow Cleek. On behalf of Sheriff Bill Whitman, he extends his regrets that he couldn't be here today because of other commitments. However, it is a great opportunity that we have, and appreciate the board's opportunity to recognize one of the important components of the department, not only with the Tulare County Sheriff's Department, but something that is occurring throughout Tulare County, and that is our Explorer program. Today I have with me Lieutenant Gary Chambers. I have Deputy Jimmy Howell out of the Orosi substation. Also joining us is from the California Highway Patrol, Scott Harris, and two of their Explorer officers, Gabriel Garcia and Christina Barcianas. Also very nice to have with us today is some of our own Explorers out of the Orosi substation area. Is Oscar Robles, he's a sergeant in the Explorer post. Carolina Hernandez, she is a lieutenant. And we also have Cynthia Hernandez. And we're really fortunate to have such a strong program, but tremendous leaders that within our department and all the other Explorer posts that are in our county. They work so well together. There truly is a developing relationship that goes on and strengthens our goals and objectives of mentoring young people and helping them to aspire to do great things in their life as they continue with the course and paths that are and the challenges that are put before them. We're very fortunate that we have an event that is occurring this weekend, and I'm going to turn the time over to Lieutenant Gary Chambers and Jimmy Howell to share some of the things that's taking place for us here in Tulare County.
Thank you, Captain. Ladies and gentlemen, board members, thanks for letting us be here today. This is an exciting time for us, and I'm going to direct your overhead, and I just want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing this weekend. It's our first annual Central Law Enforcement Explorer Competition. Now, this started as our first year this year, but we've been going to these competitions for about 8-9 years now, and Deputy Howe is the president for the Central Coast Law Enforcement Competition, and we wanted to bring it here to the Central Valley also. So we put this together. We're going to have approximately 17 different agencies attending for our first year, and which is a lot of work getting everybody together, especially in this time of budget issues and that. But this is such an important program that we've got over 17 agencies that are going to be participating, and they're going to be coming all the way from up north by Lodi and down south into Los Angeles PD and the Sheriff's Office in that area. So we're real excited about that. The event starts April 3rd. We'll go through the 9th. And as I told you, various law enforcement agencies throughout Central California and Central Coast will be represented. In a quick overview, I know you have a long agenda today, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what this is. This competition will examine competitors' individual abilities as well as build teamwork. The events are designed to test each explorer's mental and physical capabilities in a real-life situations, day and night events, and they'll be working scenarios. And if you can see here, the team is fixing to make, which is a very dangerous building search in law enforcement, and we've started early by training these young people. It builds tremendous teamwork with them, and they have to rely on each other, and they're very serious about what they do. Some of the academic events, each competitor will participate in entry-level law enforcement written exams. So this isn't just a fun time for them. This is written examinations that prepares them for whether or not they stay in the career of law enforcement, go into business, education. This starts this preparation right now. They must successfully complete an oral board panel. So they'll have to go in front of about a 4 or 5 oral board and present themselves that way also, preparing them for the workforce in the future. We'll have their mental skills tested in real life scenarios relating to law enforcement contacts. Some of the description of the events that's going to be happening this weekend. And these pictures that we're showing you are scenarios that have happened last year, and so we're just preparing for this year. Felony car stops, building searches, medical scenarios, domestic violence, vehicle searches, DUI stops, crime scene investigations, and evening traffic stops, and evening suspicious suspect scenarios. Every one of these are high-profile cases and calls that we respond to on a daily basis, and any one of them can cause a lot of havoc in the area. But and then the physical events, we have our tug of war, which is a team building. This is where all of them have to work together as a team. So each 17 teams that are there participate this individually. A relay race, team obstacle course, which is a lot of fun, but going over walls and through the water, and you can see a couple of photos of some of our young people. Individually, they will compete against each other. At the bottom right, you'll see our tug of war team. We're very proud of them because this team right here last year took first place in this tug of war against every team in the state of California that was there. And they just, and if you looked at them, you know, there were some other explorers that were just huge. They looked like linebackers, and you know, and Deputy Hal and I were sitting there going, "Oh, this isn't going to be good." And you know, these young people over here dug in and said, "You know what? We're going to take this." They had confidence, and they said, "We're going to take first place in this." And we kind of looked at each other and said, "Okay," and they did. It was tremendous. Scholarships, we're going to be providing some scholarships for them. Up to 10 scholarships will be available. Applicable to high school seniors, graduates, or equivalent thereof. They have to have a 3.0 or better to receive these. We want to make sure that they maintain their grade point averages. These young people here have to maintain a grade point average to participate in this course. And we think that's very important because they've got to keep their grades up because of their academic achievements for later. They've got to be a community leader, and every one of these explorers up here with the CHP and the Tulare County Sheriff's Office are community leaders in their own rights, and they're putting themselves out there. They're going against the norm of some of these kids, and they're standing up for what they believe in, and we appreciate them. Our award ceremonies will be on Sunday. The top 5 teams will receive trophies for their outstanding performances, and the scholarship winners will be presented at that time. And we would encourage all of you in the audience and the board members that can attend. I know you're very busy, but if you can attend, please come. You will see some outstanding young people. You know, we hear about young people, just a small group of them in the news. I want you to see what the rest of the kids are doing, and you'll be very impressed with them. And we have an upcoming event. This is the Marion Carroll Memorial Mud Run in June 6th. It's at NAS Lemoore. This is an exciting trip for them. These kids, you would think that they would not want to do this again. They did it for the first time last year. This is a 5.2-mile run. And we're trying to convince the captain to run with us. I'm going to run this year. This is through the mud, through rope courses, it's such an exciting time. And there was, Jimmy, how many teams were there last year?
Last year there was about 500 teams at the Mud Run. It consists of both law enforcement, civilian, military personnel. Thanks again, Supervisor Cox, for supporting us for that last year. It was a good turnout, and we look forward to it. The kids had a blast. I actually got 3 of my 4 sergeants from Orosi Sub to actually participate in it last year. And like I said, hopefully this year we'll have Captain Cleek and both Lieutenant Chambers. I've tried for the sheriff. I'm not going to go for it. I think.
Well, I think after the training Captain Cleek did last year, this might be a cakewalk.
Should be.
Well, I'm looking forward to actually, I'm going to take the challenge and do want to participate. I mean, since I've been put on the spot.
Later, you know that.
You know, I just want to wrap this up, again, thanking the board to take the time and allow us this opportunity. This is just another step in the efforts of Tulare County's stepping up. You know, we are working with a lot of the small age children in elementary schools, or just as they are leaving home, the kindergarten, and going through the elementary grades up to 6, transitioning into the junior high and then on to high school. And it's so important that we have this type of program and all the other programs that are occurring in Tulare County to work towards strengthening our youth, mentoring them, and providing them with positive environments and letting them know that they can be successful and reach their goals and their dreams. And so, and again, it could not be done without the valor of these leaders, Scott Harris from Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Chambers, Jimmy Howe, and all the others, and the other Post Explorer Scouts that are not here. They're just a great camaraderie that allows us to do this. So thank you again for allowing us to be here today.
Thank you, and we wish you well and good luck to you as you go into the competition this weekend. I hope supervisors noticed the guns were a bright orange plastic that were being used, but I've been involved with this for quite some time, and it does teach these folks some wonderful skills. And I noticed I see brass and ribbons all over these folks. So it looks like you've been around for a while. Any other supervisors like to make a comment?
No, and just to say a great program and to get these kids involved and hopefully get them interested maybe in becoming peace officers down the road and to fill in the positions as people retire throughout the county and the state and different positions. So great program, and anything we can do to get these youth interested and staying on right track is very, very important. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for being here this morning, especially the youth that took off from school. I'm sure that was difficult to do. But, you know, as was said before by Lieutenant Chambers, you know, we always hear about the kids who are in trouble, about the gang problems and so forth. And, you know, there are great kids out there, and these are the programs that are designed to help kids stay on the right course and sometimes make needed corrections in their lives. So I want to thank our staff, our officers, and I think we're getting more involvement from our fire department as well because of their local connections now, and because this is a very proactive thing that we can do in our communities, and it's not a negative thing. It's only but positive, and we need, in this day and age, we need all the positive news we can get. So congratulations and thank you very much.
I just want to thank you guys for coming and bringing this presentation to the board, and I also wish everyone a lot of luck this weekend. Hope everything goes real well, and I will plan to attend and see some of the competitions, and hopefully we'll be very impressed. I'm sure I will be, and also would just like to give any of the explorers a chance to talk or say a few words about the program or their experiences if they'd like as well. It's always nice to hear from the people that are going through the program, so if any of you want to say anything, please, just real briefly, you can. This is your real public forum test.
Well, I've been here since September. I'm 19. I wanted to be a CHP for like 2 years. And I never heard of this program. My friend Joanna told me when I came here. I love it going here. Then every Wednesday, like, I learn something new. I don't know, it gets me more excited to go to the academy.
Very excited.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
She mentions the academy. Actually, our post has a level 3 and we spend a week in Sacramento for the in the academy there. And of course, the first couple of days, all I could think about is getting home. Mother's cooking and everything. You gotta stick it out for the whole week. And I noticed by the end of the week, by Friday, Saturday, I realized that I didn't really want to leave. I wanted to stick around for the 27 weeks. And if the Explorer program wasn't involved in the area, I probably wouldn't even the passion I do have for law enforcement. And so I thank the Explorer program for exposing me to the events.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Oscar Robles. I've been with the Explorer program for about 2 years. This is a great program. It's helped me with my leadership skills. Before this program, I would not be able to stand here and talk in front of you. I would not be able to stand here keeping a calm face or without or just stuttering. And this program has taught me how to be a leader, how to do what's right when I go with the wrong. This program has been a light in a tunnel dark for me and a lot of my other explorers. This has also helped us with the camaraderie, not just between us, but between all other law enforcement explorers. And we also have had a camaraderie between fellow officers, and I'm really thankful. And if it wasn't for this program, well, I mean, like I said, we wouldn't be here. So I thank you a lot for having us here.
That's great.
My name is Carolina Hernandez. I've been in Explorer Post for 3 years. When I first got into it, I asked, where was the Explorer Post, because I wanted to go into law enforcement, and this is a great beginning for me. I really like law enforcement. We do a lot of community service. We help out the community. It's really a really great Explorer Post. You meet new friends, you make awesome friends, and get to do a lot of great stuff.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Herrera. I've been in the Explorer program for about 1.5 years, and it's a great experience. I enjoy it. We're not only just explorers, we actually became a family. We relate to each other, and we really get along, and we understand each other a lot as well. So,
Great, thank you
very much.
Yeah, I want to thank the leaders also. I know I have the opportunity on a monthly basis to see the Visalia Explorers interacting with the Visalia Police Department, and one of you mentioned the mentorship between the adults and the youth, which is so important. And I see these youth looking up to these officers, and that's so important in this day and age that our youth learn to respect those that wear a badge instead of the opposite. So thank you also to the leaders. I know it is a lot of work, and you put in a lot of time that you're not compensated for, so thank you for that. Thank you very much for being here today, and again, we wish you well this weekend in the competition and many to come, and I would encourage all the supervisors or anyone here who has the ability to support these programs financially as well, because it's not an inexpensive thing to be a part of the Explorer program. I'm looking at the uniforms over there, probably in excess of $150 per young person. So thank you very much. Next item on our agenda today is public comment. If there's anybody wishing to address the board on an item that is not on the agenda today, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and we will be imposing a 15-minute time limit on the public comment period with a 3-minute per person limit. Is there anybody wishing to address the board on an item that is not on our agenda today? Seeing none, we will move to Board of Supervisor matters. Supervisor Vanderpool.
I don't have anything to say today.
Supervisor Ennis.
Well, Thursday night in Springville, we'll be having a mosquito abatement meeting at the Memorial Building there to go over the different issues on. LAFCO will be there and be talking about how you start at a mosquito abatement district, what enters into it. We'll have people there from the district itself to explain to the people what's done, the procedures that are done, and just to more or less find out if they want us to go ahead and run a survey in the unincorporated areas to see if they actually want to vote for a mosquito abatement district. The east side of the valley, from Lindsay to Terabella, has no mosquito abatement. And so all we're doing now is just getting the word out to these people and letting them have a chance to maybe take a survey and tell us whether they're interested or not. If they're interested, fine. If they're not, fine. But it's just a health issue that we're trying to get out there. And also, the people of the east side of the valley be happy to know that we're going to be receiving 85% of our allocation Class 1 water. So we're at 65, we're up to 85, and if things go forward, we might be receiving almost 100% of our Class 1 water. So that's good news for Tulare County. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Supervisor Worthley.
Mr. Chairman, last week the Air Board met in Fresno, the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Board. One of the issues coming up is, and it's been in the news for a lot recently, has been the requirement of gasoline station owners to update their dispensaries, and at this point only 40% of all the stations in California have actually met this. So that obviously the vast majority have not yet done that. They're rapidly approaching a deadline. Our board has taken a position of trying to work with these folks, and if there's a good faith effort being made, they will not be fined as they're going forward. But one of the concerns that I have is that when you look at the ones who can least afford to do this, it's the small business operators who are often in situations that are remote. And so one of the unintended consequences of this is that if we lose these service stations, people will still have to buy gasoline, but instead of being able to go a mile or two perhaps to a local station, they may have to drive 10 or 15 miles to get to a station to get gasoline. And that, any air benefit that was received by the improvement to the dispensaries will be lost on the need to drive vehicles further to get gasoline. So when I say we need good news, we need a lot more good news, because there's an awful lot of this kind of regulatory news which has a lot of negative implications, and I realize we're trying to clean up the air, but we cannot destroy our economy and our financial health and try to clean up our air to achieve other kinds of health. Last Thursday, I was in Sacramento for a Commission on State Mandates meeting. One of our jurisdictional issues has to do with counties who are in financial distress, and so far no one has filed a claim, but 4 counties have inquired of the process, which is quite extensive and time consuming if they decide to go through this, with not a lot of benefits at the other end. But the latest county to inquire was Alameda County. So we know that a lot of our sister counties, agencies are struggling financially, and we're seeing that. So that's all I had to report.
Thank you. I have nothing new this week. We will now move to our consent calendar. We will pull item 10, which is an item I will need to recuse myself from. Supervisor Worthley has been notified of that. Are there any other items, board, that we need to pull from the consent calendar, or are there items in the consent calendar 5 through 17 that the public desires to pull for separate consideration?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the consent calendar absent item number 10.
Second.
Moved by Worthley, seconded by Ennis. Cast your votes. It is unanimous, and I will recuse myself from item number 10.
Item number 10 involves First 5 Tulare County, which Supervisor Cox is a member, so he recused himself. Is there any questions about this matter? If not, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Motion is approved unanimously, 3-0.
One of those wonderful little laws where you have to get up and walk off the stand for approximately 30 seconds so that there's no appearance of conflict, and I can assure you there is not. I neither did lobby nor talk to any of the other supervisors about this item. We will, there being no timed items on today's calendar, we will now move to our untimed items, to item number 18, which will be a presentation given on our Community Disaster Partners Task Force. Good morning, Amber.
Good morning. My name is Amber Smith, and I'm the Emergency Services Manager with Tulare County. I'm also a member of the Community Disaster Partners Task Force, and I'm pleased to be able to bring this important presentation to you today with our findings regarding the increasing need for services and assistance in our community due to the current state of our economy. Also with me today in this presentation is Carolyn Rose with Community Services Employment and Training, and Adam Peck with the Workforce Investment Board. As you may recall, the Community Disaster Partners Task Force was formed in 2008. It evolved from the 2007 freeze relief effort. It was recognized by all that Tulare County needed to continue the collaboration of governmental, community-based, and faith-based organizations and the private sector in an all-hazards response. CDP members have invested a great deal of time planning and preparing for an all-hazards response, and for how the task force will coordinate with first responders and emergency management staff in both natural and man-made disasters, acting as a safety net of second responders for our community. The partners within our Executive Planning Committee consist of several agencies and organizations, the Health and Human Services Agency, CSET, Proteus, United Way, FoodLink, the Workforce Investment Board, Chambers of Commerce, and the Employment Development Department. I'd also like to take a moment to introduce a couple of members who are able to join us this morning. Dan Ramirez is here today with Proteus. Thank you. And Sandy Bills is here with FoodLink. In 2009, we're focusing on the economic recession and the budget crisis. CDP members gathered to look at how this is impacting our community and how we can better support our community. And this initial effort began when the state controller announced that they may be delaying payments to critical programs, which could have prevented the distribution of food stamps and other critical assistance to our community. So we began looking at that to see how we could assist with the effort in our community to provide some relief. We will be focusing on engaging our faith-based organizations, any services that they are able to provide, such as food collection and distribution, counseling services, transportation. We're also looking at developing stronger relationships with our business community and coordinating the efforts of all to address the economic downturn in our community. And now I'd like to turn it over to Carolyn Rose to discuss our findings about the increased needs in our community.
Good morning. First, we're going to look at a couple of slides on indicators of the increased need for food assistance. You will note here that our food stamp program, comparing February 08 with February 09, there's a significant increase in the use of food stamps. And if we look at some data from FoodLink next, we'll see a tremendous increase in the numbers served by FoodLink and the food pantries throughout the county, going up from just 40,000 in February 08 to almost 60,000 in February 09. Another indicator would be our housing foreclosures. From January 08 through November 08, over 6,016 homes had their mortgages foreclosed. That's basically 1 in 22 households. And you can see here the indicator comparing March of 08 with February of 09. Utility assistance has also shown some increase. In February of 08, CSET served about 1,600. February 09, we served over 1,700. And, of course, employment, a very big issue, and we're going to ask Adam Peck with the Tulare County Workforce Investment Board to share some information about employment.
Thanks, Carolyn. Good morning, Supervisors, Chairman. Often you see everyone's aware that the unemployment rate has risen dramatically at 17% in February of this year. And if you look at those numbers, you see a loss of 1,900 jobs year over year. That obscures a larger figure, and that is this statistic shows the actual number of individuals unemployed, because sometimes when you look at the 1,900 job loss, you forget that we're an area that continues to grow. So even if you just have stagnant job growth, no job growth, there are more people unemployed. So this figure shows the number of people unemployed year over year increased by over 13,000. So it's more dramatic than the 1,900 that you may see when you look at that unemployment rate figure. And I don't know if you're going to go into the next one after that about ARA. I wanted to add real quickly, and I'll come back in some future date and talk about what the Recovery Act, commonly known as stimulus package, it's focused on many of these issues. We expect to receive funding soon at the local Workforce Investment Board. We're already ramping up a large Youth at Work summer youth program that many of you have heard about. But the intent will be to preserve and create jobs, promote economic recovery, and provide assistance for those impacted that have been described throughout here. And the role of the workforce investment system in this larger recovery effort will be to help Americans acquire new skills, obviously get them back to work, and then position the workforce investment system to be the answer to some of these issues. So use the downtime for the large number of people that are out of work to match them up with the right jobs, or if the jobs aren't available, to match them up to get the right skills so that when jobs return, that they are prepared to take advantage of those positions.
And for your information, we have just learned that on April 6th, the California State Association of Counties and the California Welfare Directors Association will be announcing the upcoming release of a joint report titled Human Services as an Economic Stimulus. The Health and Human Services Agency will be discussing this report with our disaster partners as a part of our ongoing efforts, and the Health and Human Services Agency will be submitting the report to your board no later than April 28th, along with comments on the local aspects of the report. Thank you again for receiving this presentation. We surely hope that our state and local economy improves, but in the meantime, we'll be watching the situation and planning for ways that we can collectively bring some relief to our community. And this concludes our presentations. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
I have just a comment.
Comments?
I just wanted to thank the task force for their good work in this regard. And, you know, there's a tendency to think about disasters as something which happen overnight, a freeze, a flood, and we don't often necessarily think about economic malaise as a disaster. But, in fact, it truly is a disaster. And as people lose their employment, as they lose their homes, as they lose so much, we see all kinds of fallout from that, and mental health issues, and suicides, and just deprivation, and so forth. So thank you for seeing that as a disaster and for tackling it, because it truly is one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move to item number 19. I see Mr. Forbes making his way to the front. We will discuss and consider the approving of the Step Up Service Learning Grant Program as recommended by the Youth Commission. Mr. Forbes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Supervisors. Jeff Forbes, Board of Supervisors Office, and I'm here today as staff member for the Tulare County Youth Commission. The Step Up Service Learning Grants, they were administered by the Youth Commission, which is an 11-member body of volunteers and advisory committee to your Board of Supervisors. Service Learning Program is for youth-directed projects that focus on reducing crime, delinquency, and or substance abuse through the servants of the students. And the way the program is set up, the project will be carried out during the summer, and there's stipends for the students, and there's also money set aside for the stipends for the advisors, who are most likely going to be, putting in some extra time over the summer. There was $5,000 available in each district for a total of $25,000 countywide. Public and private high schools in Tulare County were eligible to apply. I think it was about 53 or 55. We sent out packets to every high school with DVDs of last year's projects, the application, just an overview to try to spread the word and get as many applications as possible. The RFP opened on January 20th. The application deadline was a little over a month later on February 27th. 22 applications were received on time, which was double last year's. 3 of those were kicked out. They didn't make the proper amount of copies. A couple of them didn't use the application that the Youth Commission had put together, so those were not reviewed, which left 19 applications that were reviewed by the Youth Commission. Each application that was reviewed was read by 6 youth commissioners. They turned in the scores to me. I averaged those together, and then on March 16th, the Youth Commission met and they made their funding recommendations, which are before you today. The top scoring application in each district is what was recommended for funding. That's what the Youth Commission went with, and that's what's been put forward today. Just a note for anybody that happens to be here or is listening online, we are offering technical assistance for the applicants, and whether you are going to receive the money or not, it's a time for the folks to meet with some of the youth commissioners that read the applications, ask maybe why they didn't get the funding or where they could improve, and it's also a time for the Youth Commission to get feedback from the applicants, what worked, what didn't work, is there anything on the application itself that needs to be updated or worked on. And lastly, the schools that receive the money, we're going to bring them back to your board in November after the projects are completed. You'll recall last year they came and each school did a presentation with a short video of the project, and that's what we intend to do this year. So that's kind of the process that we went through as a youth commission to get to this point. At this time, I'm going to call up Janice Lehman, who is the chair of the Youth Commission. She's going to give a brief overview of each of the projects put forward for recommendation and ask for any questions from your board.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to say that it's been very exciting working with the Youth Commission. I think one of the most gratifying things for me is, as a person who's worked in education for more than 30 years, is the fact that there are so many people in our community throughout Tulare County that really want to do things for youth. And that is very, very gratifying. And along that same line, unfortunately, we had people that we could not fund, but one of the really neat things was that we funded someone from each district because we had excellent applications, and I know all of you will be pleased about that. I'll start with District 1. We had an excellent application there from J.J. Cairns High School, and it was a mentoring project for 5th and 6th graders, and they were also talking about holding some mini summits with these students involving youth, and they really did an excellent job on that application, and all of the commissioners felt that that was very strong. For District 2, the award went to Tech Prep High School. The teacher that wrote the application was talking about writing and illustrating books for 2nd graders using character pillars, and that would involve students actually going out and working with those students. For District 3, La Sierra Military Academy was talking about building and repairing computers and then donating them to community agencies. And I know with all the tech issues now, those are good jobs for students, and it's exciting to see them involved with something like that. For District 4, Orosi High School is going to be involved in creating and painting a mural on a school site to help promote anti-graffiti kinds of things. And those of us who have, worked with youth for a long time know that many times if there's a mural up there that's of quality and that people can see, people care about, and it's about that community, there's just not as much tagging. So I think that's really important. It sends an important message. And then for District 5, Citrus High School had an excellent grant application that was working with assisting in the animal shelter, and that this would be an ongoing thing involving elementary students also. So on behalf of the Youth Commission, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I think it's important that that the youth be involved in positive kinds of things, and also in a way that they can see that they're giving back to their community. I know as an ex-continuation principal, one of the things that I really found with students that I worked with was that when they felt like they were giving to someone else, it made all the difference in the world in their lives. And I thank all of you for that opportunity. Are there any questions?
Question, board members? There are not.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Having participated in this grading last year, I want to thank the Youth Commission on taking this on. As you look at the score, we do have the scoring, the results of the scoring in our agenda item, and it looks like it was very close on some of the issues, and we want to thank the Youth Commission for the hard work they put in, because I think they each received a stack about that thick of applications to review, and I want to thank also our staff member on that, Jeff Forbes, for the hard work he put into this as well. We'll bring it back to the board.
Chairman, I'd move approval of the funding awards as presented to us this morning.
I'll second.
Moved by Supervisor Worthley, second by Supervisor Vanderpool. Is unanimous, 4-0, Supervisor Ashita being absent. Are there any of the recipients here that would like to say anything before we move to our next item? If you would like to step up, we'll give you I see 3 of you raise your hands. You can all come up at the same time and each say something if you like. We'd love to hear from you folks today. And if you would, state your name and your address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Renee Moncada, the administrator for La Sierra Military Academy, and I want to thank the County Board of Supervisors for your generous approval of the grant, and also all those involved, Jeff Forbes as well, with the Step Up program. La Sierra Military Academy is excited to offer this opportunity to our students. We see the need to give back, but give back in a meaningful way. So with this computer repair program that we'd like to kick off with the seed money, we are hoping that this will grow into a larger venture for our students in partnering with local community-based organizations such as Family Builders, Boys and Girls Club of Ivanhoe and Visalia, and of course the Whitman Village. So once again, I thank you for your generous nod of yes for this grant and funding.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Pearson. I'm principal at Citrus High School in Porterville. And I am very excited to, again, say thank you and to have for my school receive this award. We are going to be putting our students directly to work. We're going to be having them work with our new animal shelter there in town, learning not only how to deal with the public, but also dealing with compassion. And some of our gang members and some of our kids that really need that help, to have that connection to caring for life, and we think it's really important. And then to take those lessons back to the elementary schools in the fall. So we're very excited, and thank you again for your consideration and for the money. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Heather Luttrell, and I'm an English teacher at Tech Prep High School. I was really excited to put together a project for students to work on because my students often are very disenfranchised. They don't like school, they don't really understand the point of school, so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of turn the tables on them and have them in a situation where they could be putting together books that they could actually use to go teach the 6 pillars of character counts to second graders. And we're from Tulare Joint Union High School District, and what I'm hoping the kids will do will put together the books and create libraries for our 10 feeder schools. And I think it'll be really exciting because I'm planning on the students going and presenting the libraries to the school and also reading their books to the second graders. And for me, I just think it's so important for my students to get an opportunity to see themselves as mentors and role models, but also for the community to see these students as mentors and role models. So thank you once again for funding the project.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for those attending. I wholeheartedly support this program, and I'm excited to see so many applicants come forward this time with so many worthwhile and worthy projects, and hope that we can continue to. This is a small amount of money, but it appears to do so much good in the community. We hope to also to bring back a video like we had last year in our November presentation. So thank you. We will now move on to item number 20, which is a request from our Health and Human Service Agency to authorize Human Resources and Development to initiate the county's layoff process affecting the Human Services Department Area Aging on Agency program. Mr. Davis.
Good morning. John Davis, Health and Human Services Agency. I'm here today because, as you all know, the governing board of the Area Agency on Aging, which is a special district, including Kings and Tulare counties, has asked that they have a different method of delivery for their meals program. And rather than prepare the meals themselves and deliver them, they want to cater those meals out of the Economic Opportunities Commission in Fresno. That group is a nonprofit. It has been operating for years, providing meals for seniors in Fresno and Madera counties. We had actually approached them years ago, seeing if this was a reasonable possibility, and at the time it was not. We reopened those negotiations and discussions several months ago, and it looks like we're going to have a contract where we can actually prepare the meals there, not us, but they will prepare the meals there. They will deliver them not only to our sites, but to our homebound. And it will actually result in about a little over, we're hoping, about $300,000 in savings. This means, of course, that all the difficulties we've been having with the nutrition program for 4 years. This is not a new program, and you know that, and it's not a new problem. We've had about 4 years of adjusting to funding problems in that program. It's one of several in the Older Americans Act. It's by far the most visible, and it's by far the most difficult to manage insofar as we haven't gotten any increases in funding. In the last couple of years, we've closed several sites, and as recently as 3 months ago, we were closing one site, Lemoore and Kings, and 3 sites here in Tulare County. We're hopeful that the changes we're making now today in the Area Agency on Aging will actually eliminate the need for cuts for quite some time. These programs, and particularly the nutrition program, will now be self-sufficient in its own funding. That is to say, we won't have to subsidize it with grant monies from elsewhere and not provide another set of services that we should have been providing. So you accomplished several things, it seems to me, or the governing board did, clearly, when it made its decision. It unbraided the funding. It made each program stand on its own merits and its own funding. And in making those decisions, it's really created only this difficulty for us in Tulare County. That is, you have a contract for providing labor force to the Area Agency on Aging. In that capacity, all the people that work in the Kings Tulare Area Agency on Aging are your employees. When they went from providing those meals themselves to catering contract, we obviously have a situation in which we have excess personnel. That's why we're here in front of you today. We're asking that you trim this program. We're looking at about 7.8 FTEs in this workload reduction, or this workforce reduction. It will leave about 5.6 people in that program, and only 5.6 people, 2 full-time, I think there's 5 part-time, managing the sites and the collection of data and all the other stuff we have to monitor when we actually cater meals and make sure they're safe for our seniors. I'm pleased because it basically means to me that we don't have to look at more reductions next year in the nutrition project, and that service level isn't what's going to suffer here still another time. And hopefully in the years ahead, if we dig ourselves out of the difficulties we're having with our financial situation in Washington, there'll be enough funds to keep this program operating. We're now serving about 300 people. That's down from a year ago, about 20%. I'm little hopeful that if we go through this process, we'll actually even be able to increase services a bit. So with that, I guess I'd ask that your board, in understanding what the governing board's decision was and about who they were going to contract with, take this step to bring our employment and our workforce back in line with what our needs are. Thank you.
I do have one quick question, if I may, John. The contract to the group in Fresno, that's administered through the KTAAA and not this board, so this board would not approve that contract But
For the short
the other
term-
board would approve the contract?
For the short term, because we're in transition, the Area Agency on Aging Governing Board asked if they could keep that contract for 3 months. But you're right to bring up that issue in a much broader sense. But Kings County has asked that they have more direct control over their program and actually enter into the planning process more. So we will end up, we, meaning the Area Agency on Aging as a special government district, will end up creating 2 contracts, one for Kings and one for Tulare. And at that point, yes, Tulare County will have its own contract for catering the meals that it will operate in Tulare County. Kings County will have a separate contract for operating their own programs independently of Kings. But both will sit under the Area Agency on Aging. I hope that answers the question. Short term, it's an agency contract. Long term, each county will have their own.
Questions from the board?
One question that's I guess a little bit off topic, but when the two governing or when the two agencies are split and Kings has their own and Tulare has their own contract, does that dissolve the governing board or not?
No, the
Do you see
governing
that
board
same way?
actually comes prior to the counties. The county is from the governing board's position and from the state's position, really. County is a contractor. And so to the extent that this county wants to run services or it contracts them out, we actually, the Area Agency on Aging actually ended up giving a contract back this year to one of its funding sources, and that went to the public. That went out to private nonprofits. The board could choose to do that as well. We're just basically at the wish of the Kings County members primarily, but we're basically trying to disentangle the process, create 2 contracts so each county can operate its own planning and plan for its own services. And the state will be looking at us as a contractor to the Area Agency on Aging, and that will be the relationship for a while.
Any other questions? The last one I would have, John, is that is this a state or a federal funded program?
Federal funds amount for about 40% of the dollars, maybe a little less now. The state takes about, they really took out most of their money recently, but I would still suspect we have about 15% in the Area Agency on Aging programs. The rest is either county, city, or local contributions by the participants themselves.
Thank you. Well, this is not listed as a public hearing, but we will allow some testimony or we will hear some, if they are here to speak to this issue. We'll set a 15-minute time limit, 3 minutes for each person that would like to speak to this issue. So if there are folks here that would like to speak to item number 20, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. Anybody like to address this issue? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board for discussion or action.
I would move for approval, Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Ennis.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Vanderpool.
Chairman, just before we take the vote, I just wanted to make one brief comment, and that is, we have layoffs, and they're always difficult to do because they affect people's lives. We were talking about that earlier today. I think the critical thing here is always focusing on the service. And saving $300,000 means that we can maintain a service. If we do not take this action, then it means we have to curtail the service, perhaps even eliminating the service. So if we keep our eye focused on what the purpose of all programs should be, which is provision of service, and we can do something which maintains that level of service or enhances that level of service, I feel like we have a fiduciary responsibility to the people of Tulare County to try to do that. So I support this.
And just in that same vein, I would make the comment that, like Mr. Davis said, that if we don't do this now, there will be further cuts in the future. So it's just basically putting off the inevitable. So I think that's a justification for reasoning for support.
Okay, cast your votes. There's 4 votes to the affirmative, Supervisor Ashita being absent. Thank you, Board. And these are very difficult decisions to make. We'll now move to item number 21, request by Resource Management Agency for the reorganization of Code Compliance Division and personnel changes. I see Mr. Hash walking to the front. Mr. Hash.
Good morning, Board. Henry Hash, Resource Management Agency. We are here before your board today with a proposal to consolidate two of our divisions, and the reason for it is to increase efficiency. And that's due to lack of funding and economic slowdown. Generally, when we come to your board with proposals to increase efficiency and things of that nature, we are happy. However, today is a bit different because I think it's a bad day for us because although in the end the efficiency would increase and we'll get better service to our people, this would impact some of our employees to the extent of layoff of a few. Let me tell your board that what measures we have taken prior to getting to this point. We have a hiring freeze at this point, but really voluntarily for the most part, we started a somewhat hiring freeze over a year and a half ago. We have done that. These changes are just simply needed to reflect the revenue shortfall. We have delayed purchasing of equipment to a great extent. We have reduced training and travel expenses. We have reduced office expenses. We have reduced labor costs. Not filling 44 vacancies in RMA, which is over $1.5 million of savings in there. We have reduced overtime to only the most critical. We have released 30 extra help employees from RMA in the last several months. We're downscaling projects, planning, GIS, development, building inspection. We're reducing the amount of contracts, basically, and one thing that I would like to put your mind at ease, as difficult as it is, this would impact our code compliance. With consolidating code compliance with our building inspection division, basically, it will no longer be viable to keep the code compliance division. However, the services will not go away. The services will continue. Our building inspectors are trained and they have been doing this job. The manager of that division, Dan Boone, who is here, and if you desire, he can speak later, has been in charge of the code compliance division the last year or so. Anyway, as you know, we had over 4,000 permits last year. We have less than 3,000 coming this year. So basically, the revenues are not there. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and with your permission, I'd like to see if Mr. Bill Hader or Dan Boone has something to say. I see Mr. Hader is coming up.
Are there any questions while these two make their way up?
I have one question for Mr. Hash. Mr. Hash, you said that the services will continue. The level of service to the people, do you feel that that's going to continue as well?
Supervisor, every time you reduce staff, there's always an impact to the level of service. However, I think the level of service will not be reduced as greatly, and reason being is we have slowed down in building inspection, building permit, so most probably the level of service would be close to what it was, but it's not going to be exactly the same. We were very quick to respond and all of that. It may take some more time to do that. The efficiency would work in such a way that we have made zones and districts, so when building inspectors are in one area of Tulare County to perform inspection duties, they can also look for code compliance issues, anything to increase efficiency. So the level would be perhaps somewhat reduced, but will continue. I think as we learn to deal with the new system, perhaps the level of service will increase in time.
Okay. Thank you.
William Hader, Assistant Director, Tulare County Resource Management Agencies. I'd like to start off with thanking your board and the CAO for your prudent fiscal management that has sustained us so far, but recognize that the current recession is both persistent and pervasive and affects all levels of state and local government. As per the Auditor Controller's presentation last Tuesday, we are not immune. Our goal is to achieve the maximum efficiencies in our staffing and our services we provide the residents of Tulare County. To that effect, our proposal of combining the code enforcement and building inspection under the chief building official makes the maximum use of both staffs to implement the county's code enforcement program. We're essentially returning to how we did business several years ago when both functions were under the chief building official. So this is not something new. We're actually going back to the way we did business. We will endeavor to continue to provide the level of service and first and foremost to achieve compliance with both building and zoning violations. Since we have staff from the building inspection in the field and we had staff from code compliance in the field, we're combining into one car instead of two, the person who is doing the investigation. Essentially, that is what we are trying to do to achieve the maximum efficiency we can. Thank you.
Chairman Worthy, Cox, members of the board. What we're trying to do is to, as Henry has already stated, we're consolidating code compliance and the building inspection and downsizing to reflect the anticipated revenues. I have myself code compliance experience. I started in code compliance doing employee housing. Building inspection division will still perform all the current functions that it currently does today. We're going to do cross-training of staff. Everybody's qualified and able staff to handle the duties, and inspectors are going to be assigned zones for greater efficiency. So,
Thank you. Mr. Hash, we might have some questions before I allow some public comment on this. One thing that I think was said during your presentation is that things are going to return to the way they were, and I hope that's not 100% true. Having come on board and when we did, or when Supervisor Sheet and I did, there were close to $4,000 or 4,000 code compliance issues that were still on the table, some of them being many years old, and I hope that as returning to business as it was does not mean that it will take years to bring issues forward and have them dealt with in a timely manner. So having made that statement, I think you'll know that if we take this action today, we will be watching to make sure that we don't return to the old ways as they were, that issues will be handled in a timely manner, because we don't like to see issues come before this board that are 3, 4, 6 years old, that set somewhere in a desk and are not dealt with. So that's really the only statement I'd like to make. Are there other board members who'd like to ask questions? Or
Well, I think I have kind of a statement, and it's also somewhat in the form of a question in terms of clarification. I think that the public might think, well, if your planning department workload is down and your building trades are down and there's less permits being pulled, wouldn't it be logical to reduce the size of your inspectors as opposed to the people who are involved in code compliance? And I believe that, as I understand it, the concept here is that people who are involved in inspections have a special amount of training and certification that allows them to do that job, and then they can also do the code enforcement. Whereas the people who are in code enforcement don't have the certification and training to be an inspector, they are therefore more limited to just the code enforcement. So the idea here is that we have a more educated, if you will, in a sense, or people who are able to do two things as opposed to just the one. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, sir, it is.
And that would be the justification if you're saying, well, why are we getting rid of people out of code enforcement but keeping people in building inspection when building inspection numbers are down? It's because those folks have the ability to do both the inspection and the code enforcement action.
Yes, you're correct on that. But our, keeping some of the vacant positions open, it's not just code compliance, we have planners and other things. And if I may, Chairman Cox, I believe Mr. Hayter made that a statement that we go to the old way. What he meant, I think, was as far as the organization, we will combine the two units in one division as it used to be before. That does not mean, I certainly agree with you that we will no longer, take years for any of these cases. We have learned quite a bit from our own experience, and in fact, the number of cases have been reduced to, last time I know it was less than 2,000. We'll continue to do that to make sure no case is more than just a few months. Everything, our aim is to be within 6 months or less, hopefully. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Before Supervisor Vanderpool has his question or statement, I do want to acknowledge that we do have 2 letters that we have received, one from the Central Valley Code Enforcement Association, one from the Bixley Town Council, both expressing concern with the change, and we will make sure that the clerk receives copies of these 2 letters that we've received. Supervisor Vanderpool.
Henry, Dan had mentioned that based on the new format, there's going to be zones of coverage within the county, or is that correct? A correct statement?
That's correct, yes.
Well, I think that's a very important component, because I see code enforcement officers or building inspectors, whatever they may be, whatever their new titles are going to be. I think it's important that they establish the relationships within the unincorporated communities. I know that in my district, the town councils have become attached to or formed relationships with code compliance officers in order to address the issues that they have in their community. And so I hope that the zones of service will definitely assign one officer to each community or in that area, so that they can continue those relationships, because I think that's very important.
Yes, we will, and our code compliance employees have done a good job in forming relationship with communities and doing their job. Yes, and we'll try to continue that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Though this is not listed as a public hearing, we will allow some public testimony or comments on this item, and we will limit the comment period to 15 minutes, 3 minutes per individual. If you'd like to address the board on this issue, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Again, we will go until 10:30 on the public or on the comment portion of this item. And you do have 3-minute time limit.
Hello, my name is Linda Fitzpatrick. My address is 380 North Thompson Road, Tipton, California, 93272. Thank you, Chairman Cox and distinguished board members. My name is Linda Fitzpatrick. I'm treasurer of the Tipton Community Council. As a private citizen, I also represent the Joy of Living Foundation as its director of operations. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the quality of life for the residents of Tipton and the surrounding area. As a group of concerned Tulare County citizens, we are anxious with the board's proposal to reduce and possibly render ineffective code compliance office personnel, and its ability to apply building and safety regulations within our communities. Over the past several years, our quality of life in rural communities such as Tipton has improved dramatically, in great part as a result of code compliance's ability to rid our communities of livestock animals, illegal construction, and other activities leading to the blighting of our neighborhoods. Many of these mitigated issues would have led to public safety issues such as structure fires, vermin infestation, and uncontrolled insect invasions. We recognize the economic times we are in, but we ask that the board to carefully review cost reduction initiatives as it relates to the RMA and code compliance capabilities. We ask that you balance the needs of your constituents in this highly valued county service and the economic pressures facing our county. Often, it is only code compliance activities that make a difference in our communities when all others fail. If we lose the ability to control certain members of our communities, we will all suffer property devaluations greater than market, have farm animals in residential areas, and health issues from infestation of vermin and insects. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board, please step forward. Last call. Seeing no one else, we will bring this back to the board for consideration. Other comments? And Mr. Russo, if you can pass these on to the clerk, make sure the clerk has copies of both letters that we did receive.
I would just like to say that I've always had a very good working relationship with RMA and code enforcement. Any issues that I've had have been dealt with very quickly. I would just like to thank you for what you've done in the past. Be able to move forward and be able to do the same thing in the future. Do more with less.
I wanted to share to Mrs. Fitzpatrick and to all those I'm sure she represents that we share your big concerns. It was not too many years ago that then Chairman Connie Conway, made this one of the bulwarks of her platform as the chairman of the board that year for cleaning up the county, and we still have that same regard for code compliance. I'm always amazed. We get individually of board members our little stacks of code compliance issues every week. I've had two recently, entire homes built without building permits. So we know these things go on, and I guess what I'd like to see is I'd like to see perhaps our RMA director come back in about a 6-month period to kind of give us an overview of how we're doing on enforcement. Because as I see it, I think the plan makes sense. We have looked, as Mr. Hash pointed out, we have not hired people. We have reduced all of our expenses. We can do more with less, but there comes a point when you have no other choice, but you have to make these kinds of hard decisions. But the goal would be is as we are reducing our need in inspections for new construction, that a shifting of attention then from that same group to code enforcement will, as stated, there's a sense of faith here and hopefulness, will maintain a level of service which we are getting accustomed to having. We know that there are still far more things out there to be done from code enforcement than have been done and need to be done. And so I would like to see us look at that in terms of, and I guess one of the indicators, as pointed out by Chairman Cox, would be the backlog. How are we doing on backlog? How many cases are being investigated? How many cases are being adjudicated? And those sorts of things. The other thing that I am somewhat hopeful for is that as we look down the road, one of the problems for code enforcement in terms of its affordability, if you will, is that we have in place a mechanism whereby we can be compensated for our efforts. Unfortunately, it is oftentimes delayed because it will go on to the property as a lien against the property, and if it's not paid by the property owner, we have to wait a 5-year period before we can actually have a tax sale to recover those funds. So I'm hopeful that as we move down the road that we will be able to make code enforcement more of a cost-effective, that is self-supporting process in Tulare County. But I know that there is this difficulty right now, and it's only accentuated by the economy, where people in the past might have been able to pay these fees and fines. They can't do that, and therefore it goes onto the property as a lien, and therefore is delayed, and yet the expense goes on. So this is, again, one of those difficult things for the board to do, and we do so with great reluctance, but recognizing that we still have to live within our means. And so I support the RMA director's approach on this matter, but we are still, very focused as a board on cleaning up Tulare County. We know the job is not complete, never will be completely complete, but there's a long ways to go.
Supervisor Vanderpool.
I, like several of my board members, I know Supervisor Ennis, who is from East Tarabella, have several friends and family members who reside in these small unincorporated communities, and this is definitely an issue that's close to our hearts, and we definitely, I definitely don't want to be making a vote that's going to hurt my family and my friends. However, in the same vein that Supervisor Worthley talked today, we do have to live within our means. And it is a balance of constituent concerns with finances, and I hope that the consolidation of services between code compliance and building inspections will be able to maintain, if not today, sometime down the road, the level of service that we currently see today, and hopefully even improve it. So, it is with reluctance, like Supervisor Worthley, that I will support this as well. But I think that it's really the only choice that we have at this time. So,
I hope I hear also that from the board that we'd like our clerk to set this for a 6-month review and have RMA come back in 6 months with a report on issues such as backlog, the timing it's taking us to take care of the backlog, new code compliance issues handled compared to the previous 6 months or the previous year time. So I hope that you did hear that and that you'll be prepared in 6 months to come back to the board with a report so we can see whether or not this was a right move or not. It's a difficult move, but as I look at the bottom line, I see a $600,000 combined savings that we're looking at for the next fiscal year, which I understand is a necessary cut that this board needs to make. So that having been said, we'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Moved by Supervisor Vanderpool. Second by Supervisor Worthley. Cast your votes. It was 4-0. Thank you. Difficult times, but decisions, tough decisions do need to be made sometimes. We'll now move to item number 22, which is an information-only item. And I do not see Mr. Summers coming forth. Mr. Seiper, are you coming forth to discuss this? Again, this is an information-only item, bid opening results in regard to the, I'm going to call this the JOC order.
Yeah, job order contract.
Job order contract.
Al Seipert, Assistant Director, RMA Support Services. This is a informational item. Three bids that were submitted as a result of our advertisement for the Tulare County Job Order Contract 003. Velis Engineering was the lowest overall bidder, and then Torres and Souza. Our current job order contract it is with Velis Engineering, so it is with a firm that we're currently doing business with.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
Before you leave, Hal, we had a kind of a lengthy discussion about this yesterday, and our that was the two of us. No violation of Brown Acts here, just between the chairman and I and staff about. As you recall, it wasn't that long ago we upped the ante to allow, I think, up to $100,000 under this program. Is that not correct? Mm-hmm. And I guess I kind of like to have a sort of follow-up about how we feel this is working. Has it been cost-effective, time effective? Just to see how it's going, because obviously that's a significant amount of money. It was brought to my attention by Cox, who had some knowledge that in some cases perhaps these prices might seem a bit excessive as opposed to being in the local marketplace where we'd go out to a normal bid type of process or something of that nature, or quote process. So I'm just curious about how effective this program has been in terms of saving money.
Overall, we spent a little over $1 million utilizing the job order contract for various projects around the county. And from a time-saving standpoint, it has been very effective. The traditional process has been is we go out and we obtain 3 bids, we make sure that we have insurance paperwork and so on and so forth, and it's been a very slow and cumbersome process. Traditional method. We were able to accomplish several projects in a short order of time. Some of the larger projects, anything over $100,000, it's currently, we do bring it back to your board for consideration and ultimate approval before we go with that. Some of the projects that may have been a little difficult from a price standpoint last year may have been what we would call something that would be a single trade or a single focus project, where when you price it out, utilizing the book, the catalog that was in place for last year, the prices may have been above what you could have found in a declining marketplace where there are a lot of hungry people. This particular catalog is reduced. The prices have been reduced. I think I'll get back to you on the exact percentage. I did have that number down, but the prices in the catalog, because it's the component is a construction task catalog, and if we're going to replace this door right here or whatever, there's a price for the door, there's a price for the frame, and so on and so forth for every task involved with it. So what we saw last year when prices were going down for materials, that there was some projects that may have been able to have been accomplished using a traditional method, and some of those projects we did. And so we did learn a couple of lessons through that. We went out for job contract 002, and we realized that the contract prices in the catalog were probably not as favorable as they could have been, and so that was part of the process that we utilized in job contract 002, and we realized it may not have been in the county's best interest, and so we did not receive what we considered favorable bids. That was canceled. We went back out for job contract order contract 003, utilizing a catalog that the prices had been reduced in, and came back with favorable labor rates. The labor rate, the factor that we were charged utilizing last year's contract was 1.08, so 8% above what the markup was, 8% above what was in the book. This year, on regular time, it's 1%. So we're not paying any markup above what's in the construction task catalogs. So I believe that we have a good program. We still need to continue to monitor to make sure that we are achieving the best value for our dollar.
That's reassuring. Thank you.
And the only comment I have is this is a statewide book.
Oh, yes.
So, and if you're familiar with prevailing wages for our area are about the same as San Francisco. So, and that's a different issue, but as you look at some of the hourly rates, these are statewide, averages tending to lean towards the higher side. So for the ease of getting the work done, it's very effective. Sometimes, your hourly rates might be way out of whack compared to what you could hire up locally for, but the idea here is getting it done quickly, saving the staff time and the process time. So, I have supported this in the past. Just hopefully staff will be cognizant of looking at projects by project.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information. We do have, that completes our open session portion of the meeting. We do have items remaining on our closed session agenda. County Council?
We do, Mr. Chairman. Item A on your board's closed session agenda is off agenda. You have items B through F. Remaining, I do not anticipate any announcements.
We will adjourn to closed session. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I want to clarify. I do anticipate one announcement. Routine announcement. Edward. Announcement out of closed session today, March 31st, 2009, by Kathleen Bales Lane, County Council. The matter of item E, County of Tulare versus Service Employees International Union, Local 521, unfair practice charge number SA-CO-73-M. The board approved initiation by ratification of this action on the motion of Supervisor Worthley, seconded by Supervisor Ennis, on a 4-0 vote, Supervisor Ishida being absent. There are no other announcements.